on, and it was confirmed that a pipeline taking, at first there were issues whether we should have a refinery, and it was agreed that we can have a pipeline which exports crude oil from here to the coast, but also later we would have also a pipeline which also refines some amounts of oil. So now we are at the time of transportation of this oil. So that's why the government thought it fit to have the crude oil pipeline from Hoima at the port in Tanga. And now the designs have been going on. And now the issue, as I said, there is a bill in Parliament which basically talks about the ECOP, which is an arrangement between the government of Uganda and then the companies, but also the government of Tanzania. Because Uganda only has around 300 and something kilometers, but Tanzania will be having a big part because it has more than 1,000 kilometers. So that's why there is that arrangement. So if all of that is done, then we can begin selling. Okay. So that's why I say now, what we are saying in Parliament, if I was in Uganda, I would call it the Chinyusi. I don't know how you call that in English. This is now the real meat. Okay. The bill that is before Parliament. That's what I can talk about that.
Okay. Gideon, you want to add something on that? Oh, I can bring in my other question.
Sure.
Okay. Now, speaking of which, there is also this picture of the fact that we are seeing Tanzania coming into the picture. I have always been facing most of these questions that why do we have Tanzania here and being fronted ahead of Kenya, who are the closest? If you're to look at that, I think Kenya is the closest, Mombasa port.
Yes, and that's a good question. That's a good question that everyone has really been pondering about. But I think it was some time back ago when our president, His Excellency Museveni, told us why he decided to go with Tanzania rather than go with Kenya. You don't want to have all your products, your goods coming from one area. You have to diversify. You have to diversify so that if there is a problem in one port, then you can be using the other. And that, I think, the biggest point that has been fronted, that we have been using mostly Kenya as our route to bring in both imports and exports. So now we say the president saw it wise that we have other ports that we are using, and hence we ended up using what? Tanzania. And personally, I also think it's really in the interest of the East African community when you find that you are working with all the partner members. It really boosts the community. So I think it was a wise decision personally.
To look for Tanga port.
To look for Tanga port.
Okay.
And diversify. You remember some time back when Kenya had issues here, and we could hardly sustain a week without oil here.
And it's actually going into elections next year.
It is going into elections. So I think it is wise for us to have these different routes, and then we utilize them accordingly, given to the.
Okay.
Was a board.
All right. Now let's also talk about. I think I should actually bring in Robert back here. Let's first look at up to 8 major contracts. If you're to see that up to 18 major contracts worth $4 billion, which is approximately 14.1 trillion shillings, have so far been approved and awarded to the different Tier 1 contractors in both Tilenga and the East African crude oil pipeline projects. So if you're to look at that, let's try to look at these contracts. Who is supposed to do what, and how does the country benefit, or how do the people benefit out of them?
Yeah, because this is a business. The oil that we have is a resource that is supposed to benefit. And as I said, the arrangement that Uganda has been using is the arrangement of the production sharing agreements, whereby these companies bring in their money to do the exploration and to do even the production. And now, when we begin selling, Uganda takes, I think, 63%, around 63, between 63, I don't remember this percentage, but it's in 60s. And then the companies also take the remaining percentage but that is after deducting all their operation costs and other costs. So now, while we are talking about these agreements, the host, you have the host agreement, you have those production agreements, and then you have the agreements between the government of Uganda and Tanzania. So the reason why we're having those agreements is because different parties are putting in their money.
Okay.
Yes, we have like Total, which is putting in its money, and then we have the government of Uganda, which is also has it owns the resource, and also I think also puts in money. And then we have the government of Tanzania, where the pipeline will be passing. So why we are making sense of those agreements is because there is people have put in their money, the companies, but also there is a component of selling. So with a view or with a reason of selling this resource. So for us as citizens, our interest in those is now in this bill which we are talking about. Okay. Because the ECOP bill now kind of regionalizes, it ratifies all of these contracts. Because it's saying that all the contracts that, there are some section which says that all the contracts that were signed between 2016 and now are going to be ratified by this bill. So this bill, the ECOP bill, is, that's why I said it is now the matter. And that's for us, we are saying, for us, for example, for us, we have not been able to access those contracts. The contracts, we are told that they're in Parliament, and now we are writing officially to Parliament to give us those contracts. But maybe what is written in the bill is in most cases what is in those contracts. Our concern as citizens is that we want to have these contracts so that we can make meaning of that. So when you ask me that question, I really might not give you much because I have not read the contents. Okay. But what I have read in this the ECOP bill is that the ECOP is ratifying all of these contracts, and there are very many provisions now where we can make sense of now what is going to happen and what we have been urging Parliament and our views. We have already submitted our views to the Committee of Environment and Natural Resources, and we are continuing also to talk to the public because we want also the public to know what is taking place, because this is very, very important. It is now all what we have been doing since 2006. Actually, not 2006. All that started in 2022 is going to be realized in this ECOP bill. So that's why we are saying each Ugandan needs to be, those who are interested need to get interested, because that's why we are going to start making money.
Okay. And let me bring Gideon in here. Last week, I think a week back, the civil society organizations rejected a move to empower the Uganda National Oil Company to spend oil funds without approval, because now we bring in the Uganda National Oil Company here. But as the civil society organization rejected this move, why is it so? Do you think it was, is it, okay, because they have their own issues as to why it's not supposed to be so, because one of which was they want Parliament to first approve.
Yes.
And according to the Public Finance Management Act, actually allows the Uganda National Oil Company to retain a portion of the proceeds from the sale of petroleum.
Yes.
So what is your say on that matter?
So this matter, not just even my say, you know, it is indeed provided under the law, under the Public Finance Management Act. We had already had that before, and we had always wanted to ensure that these companies, the National Oil Company, that does not really spend on source. On source means that you get money, then for you spend, whatever you remain with is what you give us as a country. As a country.
After spending the rest.
After spending the rest. And you know, every person in finances will tell you that if you want to save, you first save before you do what you spend. But these guys want a law that allows them to spend
before they save.
Spending everything, then whatever remains is what they give you. And we really think that that's not in good faith. We think that there are better ways of doing this, and the Public Finance Management Act really provided for that. Say that we should all have these monies in one place. Then after getting them in one place in the consolidated fund, we get some monies, we give to this company, and then it spends. And we think that's a prudent way. And for them to spend, you see, for them to spend wisely, they need checks and balances. And that's why the civil society and the public generally is saying that we need approvals from the parliament.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen, then we are doomed. It is better the parliament approves all, because it is in fact the job of the parliament to approve all these taxes, these laws. So why should these guys be exempted? So that's why we think it wise that it should be put in the consolidated fund, then we give it some money and it spends. Yes.
Okay.
So can I add on that?
Yeah, sure, you can.
Yeah, you know, the processes that are going on, there are three, I think, roles. One is what I've talked about, the ECOP bill, but there also the Ministry of Finance has also attended to Parliament to review the Public Finance Management Act. And specifically, they are saying the major aim for that review is to provide for the company, the ECOP, the oil company, the national oil company, to spend without approvals. And also, they said that they want to be very unique from all other government agencies. Because we know, for example, our planning takes financial year. It's 12 months from, I think, July to up to July for the next year.
June, from 1st July to 1st June next year.
Yes. So for them, they are saying that they want to spend. For them, some people are suggesting that they should have a budget of 5 years. But I was saying, if our planning takes 12 months, why does the oil company wants to be treated differently? Because, for example, now there is, for example, a move to have all the money from different government departments, including Makerere University, go to the consolidated fund, including it's already going there. If you want to spend and you are from Makerere University, you give your request, but the request goes directly to government, and then it is approved, and then you are given money to spend. So why does the national oil company want a special treatment? Is it a special government agency? So we are saying it should be treated separately. So we are saying there is no need actually to change the Public Finance Management Act and to provide a special provision for the oil company to spend without approval of Parliament, as my colleague is saying. Okay. And then we need to follow like what other countries are doing. For example, Tanzania. Tanzania has not made an ECOP bill. For them, what they have done is to revise the laws
that they have regarding oil or imports and exports.
No, because you know this ECOP touches very many laws. Actually, I'm told that they are also bringing another law in Parliament to revise the electricity. The same issue? The Electricity Act. Okay. Because they are saying they want the oil, the ECOP. They want to use electricity generated from oil, and they don't want to get, for example, license. Because the Electricity Act says if you have to generate any electricity, you get a license from the minister. Okay. But for them, they want to generate without a license. So this law is actually bypassing very many provisions. Because for me, the ECOP, as I said, is a partnership between the company, the government of Uganda, and the government of Tanzania, and which makes it like a private company. So the law that is being made gives this ECOP a special status, whereby the minister is even not allowed to register them. They are removing the powers from the minister. And it belongs to only the ECOP. Yes. They are saying that the minister, for example, he will sign only once. And the ECOP, for example, can go and get loans minus without approval of the minister and Parliament. Okay. So we are saying now, if we are going, the government to do any borrowing, for example, they go to Parliament for approval. But the ECOP is saying they even Uganda Revenue Authority does. Yes, they want to limit the power of Parliament, the power of the minister. And we are saying in 2013, you remember there was almost a fight where the executive wanted to empower the minister to do the licensing. But now this ECOP is taking away the power of the minister to do the licensing. So we are saying, why are you giving a lot of power to the ECOP? And you know the ECOP, for us, we want to have 15%.
Out of
You know, in a private, when you are, you know, in private companies, the one who has more shares is the one who has more say. So why does government make a legislation, for example, to empower a private company to have too much powers, to do a lot of things where we cannot have control?
Okay.
Yeah, so those are some of the issues that we need to interrogate.
All right.
Just also maybe a bit to add.
Okay, you add on because I also have another question coming your way. Okay, you can add on that.
Yes, because you see, even when this company, when I tell you that this company wants a special status, I want you to know that this country already has a very refined way in how it runs its budgets. The Ministry of Finance has provided for that how our budget is run, and it is one of the best ways that you can run a budget. You have several policies, rules, registrations, but you have them planned, and our plans normally last for 5 years. You know, even following the national development plans, which last for 5 years. So you always have a cap for every year. Even if you go to the budget framework paper, they will show you, like, they will be planning for the next 3 years. When you see their budget, they will give you that next year, at least the next 2 years, we are expecting the money to be this. And when they say that, they normally leave a gap of, I think, a 5%, a confidence level at 90%, at 95%, giving you that you can, on that budget that is available, you can always add a 5% to that budget or remove a 5% to that budget. Okay. So it is well speculated, and I don't see any reason why we should already change what we have, which is already good. And that's what these bills mostly are asking us to do. So personally, he was talking about this law, being above most of the laws. Of course, in law they say that is right, it is acceptable. But the way this is done, we are not confident enough, because we are talking about a law which is ratifying these agreements, the host government agreement and the intergovernmental agreement that the citizens have not looked at. For your information, when we were in Parliament, one of the members of Parliament told us that these agreements we are talking about, they were given name to them that you look at them, this is the agreement.
And they did not pass through clearly.
They pass through just when people are standing there, and after like, you give us our agreements. You give us, we still...
So that is their approval, okay?
So it means they are also not well versed with what is in the agreement. And you imagine, we are talking of a law. We are talking about a law that is going to, that after I was telling the civil society last week that you see, we have been doing these works since 2007. That means if we have been running a marathon, we are now in our last lap. And this last lap matters. If you want to win, how you run it really matters a lot.
Okay.
And we are saying, now we are talking about the eco bill. And you have noticed people who are trying to make it happen, provide for provisions for clauses. They have not read
what is in the
agreement,
or what is
that they are trying.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
All right.
It's very ridiculous.
And definitely, if at all you are getting all the conversations here, we're looking at the contract disclosure in the AirCop bill, a matter where most of the Ugandans will actually, we are supposed to engage more in it. Gideon, still with you here. Last week, SINOC granted the long-awaited final investment decision for the development of Uganda's oil and gas projects in the Albertine region. This one, I think the both of you will help me answer it. Since we had started out back in the day in school, we as the Ugandans were very hopeful because when we were studying about our oil and the Albertine region, the teachers would tell us there are employment opportunities available for you by the time we shall start exporting and importing this oil. You look at countries like Nigeria. But my worry here is when you hear of SINOC coming in the picture, and if you interact with most of the Ugandans, they will tell you, are we going to have the same situation where you're going to see most of the Chinese taking the lion's share of the employment opportunities in the Albertine region? Or is it going to be a 50-50?
That's a very fundamental question, and a good one for that matter, because we really believe that for any Ugandans to really benefit in oil and gas directly, it is through jobs, job opportunities. That's how we can benefit directly, and we say, hey,
that we are benefiting.
This oil came. And I managed to, pay fees for my children. Because I got a job here, I got some money, I paid fees. Or I got money from here, I managed to build a good house. So employment, it is a fundamental area, and I think there have been, the government has really tried. I really, especially the Ministry of Energy, I think I commend them. They have been trying to ensure that most of the works done in the oil region are done by Ugandans. They have put in place some laws, some regulations on how many Ugandans should be employed. They have put in place a database of Ugandan companies that should participate in the contracts to provide for services for the oil and gas sector. So I think some work is being done, but still it is not enough. Like I told you, when people don't have enough information, it's very difficult for them to invest.
So true. For
you to be able to invest, you must have the knowledge. So especially when the government does not give us these agreements so that we know what is in for us, it curtails the investments of Ugandans. Because if you are an investor, you are looking to profit. And if you are looking to profit, you must do your research, you must do your homework right. If you don't do that, then you are bound to make losses.
Okay.
And because of that, I think there is a way most Ugandans and their companies are not doing quite very well in that area, and the reason is they don't have enough information. So for me, the issue is we should provide all this information so that people are aware. Okay. If they know the opportunities, there is no doubt that they will invest and they will even participate.
All right. And Robert, I'm bringing you on this issue as well.
Yeah. Yes, the issue that I want to talk about, especially the issue of employment. I think the National Content Act should be reviewed to provide for special status for Ugandans to get jobs. And for example, these foreign companies, even if it is Sinoka or Total or these construction companies, there should be an arrangement that to the effect that you should only bring in people from out where you don't have manpower who can do that work in Uganda. So likewise in the oil sector, even if it is the pipeline or even if it is any other work, there should be an arrangement that if that work can be done by Uganda, then don't bring an expatriate. Because we have very many Ugandans who are unemployed, and then you bring people to get employment here. It's not fair. We only need to get people from out who are experts, who are doing work that cannot be done by Ugandans. Okay. I think there should be an arrangement, because you are exploiting our resource.
Yes.
And for us, what are we going to benefit? Because as I told you, when you add the money that the companies will get, their costs which they put in, and then you put in this the ECOP, where the companies own, I think, 63%, and Uganda and Tanzania only own
the remaining
percentage, which is around 30%.
At the moment when we all promised that both countries are going to benefit.
Yes, so you find that the benefits are going to be very small. So that's why we are saying benefits do not come only on the sale of oil, but the employment that we are talking about. So the law should be very clear, so that we employ the Ugandans. So I think we need to. The MPs need to look at those areas seriously. Okay. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we might find, that's what you are saying, some other countries where you find they are producing oil, but the people are still very poor. Very poor. And you find very few people who are rich on the expense of the
very rich because of that,
yes,
of the oil at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, as well, now Gideon, let's hint a little bit as we finalize with the contract disclosure here. And what do Ugandans really need to know about the matter of EACOP?
Now, that's also a good one, because originally I think it was 2 weeks ago when we had as civil society, we met together, and at first I told them that personally I thought that we even never needed this ECOP bill.
Okay.
Because you remember from, I think it was in 2004 when the World Bank did a very fundamental study, and it found out that whereas so many developing countries had their GDPs going up, these GDPs were not impacting the people. The people were remaining poor, poverty stricken, but the government would say the GDP has gone up. And now, the World Bank advised, it said that, you know what, from now onwards, it is important that whenever you're going to make a law, policy, rules, regulations, you ensure that they are evidence-based. They must be evidence-based. And I think the president of Uganda took it seriously. And around 2007, if I'm not mistaken, he wrote a very famous letter to the then minister in charge of finance. It was Ezra Suruma. And he told him that all these policies that pass here, they must be evidence-based so that they are able to impact people down. And that's when we came up with this argument where by the time you pass a law or a policy, you must have a certificate of financial implications. That is so that whatever you are doing is going to impact people what? People down, the grassroots, so that you have everyone is going on the same pace. Now, when it came to this law of the eco bill, I was shocked. Personally, I was shocked. I don't know whether people saw it, because most of the clauses in that law are already provided for in so many other laws. Because we have a fiscal, the clauses on fiscal policy, which we know are in the Public Finance Management Act. We have issues to do with taxation. Taxation under the eco bill, when we already have laws on tax, issues of land. I really found that all the pertinent clauses in this bill are already catered for somewhere. So what we needed to do simply was to amend those other laws to provide for this what? For what the ECOP needs. That's what we needed to. And had we done that, it would even simplify what? It would simplify our work. But now we are having so many laws that we end up, you have this law, you have this law. It confuses you. You don't know where to look and where not to look. So, and even I think under the Cabinet Secretariat, they provide for what they call a regulatory impact assessment, which was provided for also by the World Bank. It is a tool by the World Bank, which was provided for, and for it provided different options. When you are going to make a law, it provided for 8 options that you can take. In fact, they say you take 7 options. If all those options can't work, it's when you decide to do what? To make a law, a new law. And those options, one of them indeed is you do what? You amend the existing laws.
Oh, okay.
Or the other one is you maintain the status quo. And for it, as see, if you maintain the status quo, what do you lose?
Okay.
If there is something you lose, that means you need something there. Then you amend. If you can't amend, then you repeal and replace. Okay. If you can't do that, then finally you go to the last option, which is make this what? Put in place this law. But I don't think this law that we are having pass through that process. Okay. That's my biggest worry.
Okay. Let me bring you, Robert, into this matter here. Against the contract disclosures, what do Ugandans really need to know, and of what importance was the bill anyway?
I think I need to talk about generally about contracts disclosure.
Yeah, that is okay.
And specifically for these natural resources. Because when these contracts are disclosed, when these people know that they are disclosed, they cannot sign a bad deal. You know that Ugandans will ask who signed this on behalf of government. So we want these contracts to be public so that we reduce the corruption. You see, most of the corruption that you get, people taking the key to Kidogo, is because people think that people will never read this. Those, for me, I don't like those secret clauses, confidentiality clauses, because we need this thing to be public online.
Everyone has to access.
Yes, if I want to access, I should just simply go to the website of the ministry
to understand what is.
And I read and I understand, because as I always say, these people are working on our behalf. If you are a government official, you look after something that is not yours. Okay. It is you are actually our servant. So that's why we are saying we need to know these contracts, because so that Ugandans can get jobs, so that Ugandans can go to school, Ugandans can get health. They should feel a sense of belonging. We have very many Ugandans who are suffering in the Arab world because they cannot get jobs here, and yet the resources are here. So we are saying we need to know all of these contracts. I don't know what you are hiding. If you are working on my behalf, I have employed you, and for you are saying, no, I'm not supposed to know this. Who are you working for? If you are every 5 years we elect a government to work on our behalf. you have a manifesto, we elect you based on our manifesto. So if I'm a person whom, and you are leading me and I say, can I look at this? You say, no, please wait. It is confidential. Confidential for who? All of these things we are supposed to know. Because if we are saying that there are things that we are not supposed to know, is that these things may be innovation. You can maybe leave out your innovation in the contract.
But patent rights.
Yes, there are laws that govern those patent rights. But business, there is nothing that we are not supposed to know saying that they are confidential. That's why we are saying, please avail this information to the public so that those who are willing to ask you will ask you how you are doing this.
Okay.
On behalf of the
As we are summing up, I think you're going to give me your remarks regarding the issue that is actually happening in Uganda. One is the rising fuel prices. I think all of us are greatly affected here if we speak of this matter of the rising fuel prices. And according to information that was coming in from the ICT ministry, Dr. Chris Beriomonsi assured Ugandans on Tuesday that the government is going to work on the rising fuel prices, though I cannot tell how it's going to work on them. Because if you look at stories that are happening from world over, it is the same matter here. And by Tuesday, most of the fuel stations had around 4,970 for petrol, and then diesel was around 4,290 to around 4,300. Your take on that as we are finalizing with the show?
Yes, because as far as I know, it is really very difficult for the government of Uganda to say that to stabilize the prices when it is a global issue. A global issue, it must be addressed at a global level.
Because every country is crying over the same situation.
And I think these are some these are some of the effects of COVID-19. You know, when COVID-19 came in, many organizations, many operations were closed down. And because they were closed down, people started, I think, reducing the production of this oil. And when they reduced, all of a sudden, the economy has opened again, and everyone is demanding oil.
And it's limited in some way.
Exactly. So when the demand goes up, you can expect this to happen. But because so many people are producing, I think with time, when people will really be able to meet this demand, and I believe the oil prices will go down.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Mr.
Yes, Rob, I think for me, I have a different view, especially when this concept of privatization came in, and the governments gave away their rights of regulating. And for example, when we talk about the concept of transport, it should not be pure in the hands of the private person. Because, you know, for example, when you are working in Kampala, I don't know whether you are observing that everybody in the evening, if you go to Bombo Road, if you go to Entebbe Road, if you go to Jinja Road, people are footing. People don't have transport.
Because I normally use the Entebbe Road.
Yes, in the evening, yes. For example, if you are getting a boda
from 6 to around 8.
Yes, they are saying a boda should not work beyond 6. And if she's working, it's going to charge you 10,000. Now, if, for example, you are making maybe 10,000 a day in a town, or 5,000, can you afford transport of to and fro of 10,000 per day? No, so many people are opting to work. So that's why I'm saying, I'm thinking that the concept should change, whereby the government, for example, should partner with a private person, and they buy buses, and then they give it a private person to look after them, so they can regulate. Otherwise, if the government doesn't have a single vehicle, you cannot regulate and say and put the prices. You are not giving any incentives to the businessmen. So how do you? Because there are those essential services: transport, health, education. It is like security. You cannot privatize security and say now we are going to privatize security, and then if you want security to, for example, there is a bomb and you have an emergency, you have to call the private security person
to come and
you cannot order directly that please there is an emergency here. So transport is an emergency issue. Electricity is an emergency issue. It's like security where the government should be coming in. So for me, what I think, if we have global prices that we cannot have, that we cannot control, but we can have, for example, control on transport, we can have control on electricity, because now we are we are not talking about energy transition, where we should be looking at having those transport where we use like electricity without using the fuel, those hydrocarbons.
Yes.
So we should be seriously having also an internal policy seriously to look at an alternative of where we can have cheaper options of fuel, so that they are cheaper for citizens to use. Otherwise, now if, for example, you have a car you have been using 30,000 a day to go to Entebbe to and fro, now you have to use 60,000 to and fro. So it's very expensive.
And your salary has not
increased. Your salary has not increased. So people cannot manage. I mean, I think the authorities should seriously consider just walk in the evening and see how many people are using foot to walk. What kind of economy are you running? And even
I think the president has also noticed it, because sometimes you get him living at the State House.
Yes, he actually stays here, and every day he goes to Entebbe to work.
So Sunday in Kampala, I think by UNDP, I'm not so sure, it said that 60% of people who work in Kampala foot going back.
Normally, yes.
60%.
Because in the morning, someone picks a taxi at around 3,000 or 2,000. Then they know that if I make my 10,000, I'll get supper and keep at least the 5,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and as we're heading in the festive season, we expect with these high fuel prices, the cost of production may also become high, which means prices are greatly going to be high. In 1 minute, Gideon, your last remarks as we're heading out.
So really my last remarks should be that people need to know. When we talk about these oil contracts, people need to know what's in those contracts. It is through knowing what's in those contracts that Ugandans will be able to invest in the sector, take up jobs that are available. So it is incumbent upon the government to make sure that the people are aware of what is in the contracts. Because you see, if we don't know what is in the contracts, we can't think that it's great. You can't say that they have hid all the information that is in the contracts from me because for my own sake. You can't think that. Every time you don't have information, people fail to give you information, you end up thinking negatively. That's how it is all over. So it is important that the government shows some level of trust in its people and shares with them some of these contracts. They know what is in, what they should expect, so they can plan prior to what is coming.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Robert, your final assessment?
Yes, my final assessment is that the resources, especially minerals, oil and gas, according to the Constitution, the government keeps them on trust on behalf of the people. So when they are doing that, the level of transparency should be high, and it can only be high when the contracts are disclosed. All of those deals that the government does on our behalf, we should be able to see them because they are our servants.
All right. And thank you very much for joining us, and for all the viewers out there who have been catching these conversations. These are conversations that are still ongoing, because matters regarding the East African crude oil pipeline project, as well as issues regarding to fuel and everything regarding business, is matters where you really need to you actually put your ear to a point, because this is sweet music to the ears. For all of you who have been joining us, this is SMB. I'm Joel Posongo. Till tomorrow, it's a goodbye.